So if you're a Godzilla fan, like I am, you might be interested in this game called Fight Crab for the Nintendo Switch, and I believe it's also on Steam. But if you like to see two giant monsters fight each other, this is the closest thing you're gonna get. And we got a chance to take a look at it thanks to publisher Mastiff and developer Calappa Games. We got to check it out for the Nintendo Switch. And I got to play it with Sammy, my son, so we got to play both one player and two player. So I got to spend some time with it and hope to share it with you, and so that you can make the decision on whether you want to buy this simulation action fighting multiplayer game. Stay tuned after this and we'll go in a little bit deeper. So Fight Crab is an interesting fighting game that I got to check out, and thanks to the Mastiff and Calappa Games for giving me the opportunity to check out this game before its release date, which is September 15th, 2020. So if you're watching this after it's released, and it's out there for you to get. If not, it's showing in the eShop for $19.99. So check it out, see your local region, see how much it is. But wanted to get that information out of the way. As you can see here from the footage that I captured from my Switch while playing with my son on this game, we're playing multiplayer, the two-player split screen. So it is local co-op, and there are a lot of choices here between the crabs that you can pick. There's even a lobster in there. I don't know if that's considered a crab as well, but you can get the lobster. And there's a lot of weapons, you can see from all the choices that we're making here, and a lot of levels you can pick from. But in fact, from what this Nintendo eShop site says, is that there's all these levels you can pick from, not only in multiplayer, but there's also several tutorial stages, and there's 34 campaign stages. Now, that's a lot, and I only played through the first chapter and completed that one, and that was pretty tough. But it was tough because it was just getting used to the controls, and that's what's unique about this game, is that you can play it with the Joy-Cons, one in each hand. Yes, it's like the Wii Motion stuff from back in the Wii days, but you can use your Wii remotes to make the motions you need for the claw crabs and the arms and stuff like that. But that's the thing you got to get used to, is not only that, but you have to get used to using left and right shoulder buttons for pinching, and the ZL and ZR buttons for grabbing or actually pushing out your arms. So, and then you can also thrust your arms forward. So, and as I get used to this more, I apologize if I messed up what those controls are, but there's also the ability to use the front-facing buttons to let go of your weapons, pick up the weapons. You can go into hyper mode, which is you're basically hulking up, as it says in the tutorial, and you get like 15 seconds of hulking up, and then you just kind of blast off you kind of blow up, if you will, on the opponent you're fighting. But my son and I were having a good fight with this. It was a lot of fun and goofiness. I mean, it's two crabs and that you pick from that you're fighting with weapons. And either you're fighting on a table with the dinner on the table, or you're fighting in like this area here that you see in the alleys of an Asian community. So. But it does have a variety of matchmaking options, which is 1v1, 2v2. You can play offline or online. You can do versus or co-op. You can unlock a lot of things in the game, so there's a lot of content here. And you can also level up your character as well. So you level them up, you can recruit some other ones, and then of course in the campaign you can purchase weapons to help you along your campaign. Again, you can use your Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons for motion controls, but as I was fighting with Sam, actually the first time I played in the single player mode, I actually played in handheld mode, which worked. I didn't have to use motion controls, I was using the buttons themselves. And then, as you saw maybe at the beginning of this, there is actually also photo mode, right before the break there of our little clip there. You can spin and all that kind of stuff and get your right photo and take a picture of some of those action sequences, which I thought was very interesting. As you're fighting your opponent, whether it's versus someone or an enemy in the campaign, the object is to knock over the crab that you're fighting and get him on his back in a wrestling style, where you get basically the back on the ground for at least 3 seconds for the KO. In multiplayer, you can have one match and that's it, or best out of 3 or best out of 5. You can add timers if necessary. But we just played initially the best out of 3, and it was to see how basically who we can get on their back and win for the count of 3 the most. And Sammy and I were cracking up a lot of this, just the goofiness of it all, and just had a lot of fun with it. I will say this though, that the controls didn't feel as precise as I thought they would, and it was very interesting in trying to control your crab at the same time as controlling the crab's arms. It's almost like a Humans Fall Flat or those type of games like Octodad, where you're trying to control the limbs of the character you're using at the same time, and sometimes that can be frustrating, it can be funny. All combination of those things, but I found it very frustrating to try to maintain focus on where I was facing, and I found that also in the campaign mode as well. That was hard to keep up with who I was facing, especially when you were fighting against multiple characters. Again, the game does have a tutorial area that helps for you to train, so I suggest that you go in there and get used to the controls so that you can do this, use those controls better. I also suggest that you give the person you're playing with the opportunity to do the tutorial so they can get acclimated to the controls as well. I did try to go online to find some players to fight against to see if any of my skills were any good. I couldn't find anybody on the Nintendo Switch to play yet, because again, this game hasn't been released. It did give me the opportunity to try to fight somebody on another platform, but still the game wouldn't let me connect that way either, so unfortunately I wasn't able to try online. As I mentioned before, there's 7 tutorial stages and 34 stages that are spread across several chapters in a campaign mode. And so this scene actually is from that campaign mode, I think the first chapter, where I'm reaching towards the end and basically looks like I suplexed this lobster and getting ready to fight the final boss here, which I forget what kind of crab this is. Oh, carrier crab, it says it right there. So one of the things I learned in the tutorial though, and I haven't tried yet on these buildings, is that if you hold down the X button, you can actually climb things. So with my claws, I can actually climb up those buildings and do a jump off the building and basically do an elbow drop on the other crab. But yeah, I thought this was very interesting, and still gives you lots of content. So, oh, and this is interesting too, because you get to ask for assistance if you basically couldn't beat that final boss. So I wanted to see what that assistance was. So I figured, what the heck, I'll pick yes, see what it is. It ends up being they give you a second crab to help you beat up on the boss, which I thought that was very interesting. So with that, it's essentially, you can play it to your heart's content, either locally, which would probably be great for parties, because I'm guessing that maybe I mean, my son and I were laughing our butts off without anything to drink, but if you are a person who likes to have people over and you're enjoying some drinks, I imagine this could be pretty freaking hilarious. So you have that, there's a party element to it, there's the local co-op element to it, and there's the campaign element to it as well. So it's not just all online or not just all local. But keep that in mind in making your decision on this game. But for me, it's something that I'm actually going to let my son play, and I'm going to let him take over from here. So, and it'll be on his Switch, and he'll probably have a lot of fun with it. So, I hope that helps you. It is something we're keeping, so I hope that gives you some sort of idea of what we think of the game. And with that, this is Tim, and I'll check you later. Bye-bye.